to Dr. Paraic. He's the director of Kabara Cancer Research Institute at the Gundersen Medical Foundation in Wisconsin. And he's the chair in precision oncology and also the laboratory director for Gundersen Cancer Biobank. The Gundersen Cancer Biobank was started in 2008 and has been continuously CAP accredited since 2015. And Dr. Kenny's research interests are centered on the use of NGS to identify and understand personalized treatment options for cancer patients, and also to understand the emerging mechanisms of resistance to targeted therapy. And his research interests align with the aims of Gundersen Cancer Biobank as well, which makes it highly annotated cancer biospecimens available to academic and commercial users. And Dr. Kenny has just joined us last month, and we want to welcome him, and we look forward to hearing about the cancer biobank that you have, Dr. Kenny. I'll hand over the mic to you, and you can share your screen.
Okay, thank you. Let me just give me a moment to share my presentation. Okay, good morning, everybody from La Crosse, Wisconsin. So thank you, Sakshi, for the introduction and the opportunity to share some of our approaches in Biobank with the larger group today. So for those who may not know very much where La Crosse is, I know we have a big international audience today. We're in Wisconsin, which is in the upper Midwest of the United States. La Crosse is a nice small college town on the banks of the Mississippi, just across the border from Minnesota. Our biobank is part, and my research laboratories are part of the Gundersen Health System, but we're located at the University of Wisconsin-La Crosse campus. So it's quite an academic environment, but with a clinical focus as well. We're a very small cancer research institute here at the Kabara Cancer Research Institute. These are all of the folks who work with us. You can see it's pretty PhD heavy, and we have quite a big interest in cancer genetics and precision oncology. Specifically with reference to the biobank, 3 of our staff, including myself, are involved in the biobank, but given our broader research interest in this area, we're very, very heavily invested to maximize their utility in diagnostics and developments of new therapeutics. The biobank has been going since 2008, 2009. It had a very inauspicious beginning. This is one of the first photographs we have of the biobank, which was in the basement of the old Heilemann Brewery in La Crosse. You can see all of the pathology blocks there, but we've come a long way in the last 13, 14 years. Here's a schema of what our biobank looks like today functionally. We have all of our collections are focused on cancer. We have formalin-fixed, paraffin-embedded tissue, flash-frozen tissue, alternating between, depending on the year, peripheral blood mononuclear cells and buffy coats, and cryopreserved whole blood, and also frozen serum as well. Strategically, we have 2 major avenues into the biobank. One are prospective collections regulated by our IRB, and then under an IRB waiver of consent, we ingest the entire pathology archive from Gundersen once that material ages out of the retention requirements. And then all of that material is used both internally here in our research, and we provide it also to external clients, both in industry and in academia, as well as academic consortia. We also have a number of other precision oncology related protocols that I'm not going to talk about today, but these exist in parallel with the biobank and help inform our strategy for our own collections and annotations. And we're closing in right now on about 20,000 specimens banked in the biobank. Internally, we use this material in research publications in the sphere of precision oncology, and also to promote research among our hematology oncology fellows and the residents in our clinic. As I've mentioned, we provide the samples externally as well. We've contributed data in particular to a lot of the TCGA studies that have gone on to define the molecular genetics of all different kinds of solid tumors, as well as working with industrial partners, mainly, but not exclusively, in the diagnostic space. So big commercial vendors for developing and optimizing and validating molecular tests for cancer, and also innovative folks who are working on new diagnostics like 3D imaging of lymph nodes to detect micrometastases, just as a couple of examples. We have 14 different human subjects protocols that are monitored by Gundersen's Institutional Review Board, and all of the patients collected from whom we collect samples on these prospective protocols give us informed consent. And finally, we've got one additional protocol that actually drives the main sample accrual to the biobank, which is a waiver of consent protocol that allows us to take all of the old cancer specimens from Gundersen and bring them into the biobank. First, moving to discuss the archival specimens. As you guys may know, CAP and CLIA in the United States require that all pathology specimens be retained in hospitals for 10 years. Many institutions, including Gundersen, are more conservative than that and require a 20-year retention. But unlike many other places where the material would hit the landfill at that stage, at Gundersen, the material can come here to the biobank and we can extract the cancer cases from there for research. This is an image of what our biobank room where we store the FFPE looks like. We have drawer after drawer of FFPE blocks. And then for a long time, even after I became director of the biobank in 2015, we had these pathology blocks. So every year we would get 15 to 20,000 pathology cases per year. And our big challenge was how to figure out among all of these cases, which are the cancer ones. So we had volunteers and undergraduates from UWL gaining research experience, reading page after page of pathology books to spot terms that we identified as being cancer relevant. But that was super inefficient. It took us almost a year to acquire 1 year's worth of specimens. So early in my tenure as director, we digitized all of the pathology reports from the biobank and developed computational algorithms for parsing those and screening them for cancer. So cutting down that work from about a year to a couple of minutes for each year worth of pathology specimens to winnow out the relevant cancer cases. And then this is our accrual rate for those archival blocks. So you can see we have specimens dating back to 1983, pretty rapid rise up until the 1990s. Then we have a gap where we have a lot of material in-house that we haven't yet managed to incorporate in the biobank. And then taking off from 1996 up until 20 years ago in 2002. So we're now tipping up to about 11,000 archival block cases. For our consented cases, these are identified by oncologists at the Gundersen Health System. We've got a very nice and simple brochure that we can give to those patients. We also have an education video. It's about 3 minutes long, 2.5, 3 minutes long. That's very nice and goes through for the patients all of the relevant information that they need to think about when giving informed consent. A YouTube link is at the bottom if anyone wants to pause the recording and visit that for a look. And then we have our streamlined consent, informed consent, where it's just 3 pages long. It's pitched at a low reading level, and it's the same consent for all of our protocols. And we generally have a very low refusal rate from our patients when presented, with the opportunity to participate in the biobank in this way. This is a graph of the accrual rates of our specimens on the consented side. So you can see we started back in 2009. Dashed lines are PBMCs, red line, the solid red line, or frozen tissue, which was what the biobank was storing in those days. Generally, these are all matched and paired specimens. I became director in late 2015, and we had a strategic realignment and change at that stage to shift from taking frozen tissue to transition to getting formalin-fixed paraffin-embedded tissue from our consented patients. We switched to cryopreserving whole blood and started banking serum also at that point. So you can see that, we've got, depending on your interest, potentially many different types of specimens to address your requirements, and also good clinical annotation going along with that. This is just a one-slide overview of our informatics setup. We've got a good quality biobank database, which integrates both the clinical data from the patient's electronic medical record with the inventory data on the samples. We've got a variety of different ways to interact with that. And then, although not integrated directly in our database, we do have that archive and repository of digitized pathology reports. So we do find that useful for clients who are interested in identifying particular patients with some more esoteric features or unusual clinical profiles. The ability to do text mining directly on those pathology reports and also within the medical records helps us to provide efficiently specimens that some some clients seem to find harder to acquire from other biorepositories. We have an externally facing website that provides some insight into the material we have on hand. You can search the inventory there. This is a continuous work in progress. So what I would recommend for people, if they are interested in evaluating whether we can help out with particular specimens, send us an email that I'll have on the last slide of the presentation, or visit the website and submit a biospecimen request application, and we'll get back to you very soon. That's all I've got to share today. Thanks again from La Crosse here in Wisconsin. This is the Biobank right here. This is the beautiful Mississippi that flows past, and that's the Gundersen Health System down there. So thanks a lot for your attention. I'm happy to take any questions either now or at the end of the webinar, depending on how Robert wants to do it.
Thank you so much, Dr. Paraic. I think it was a great presentation and very informative as well. So I can just leave the floor for any questions that the audience might have. If not, I have a few questions, and I was just interested to know more about, like you said, how you've digitized your reports. And before 1996, you had a lot of paperwork, and it was difficult to segment all the cancer samples, relevant cancer samples. And after that, what were the challenges that you faced when you introduced the new database and electronic records, and how did you manage that? I think it was quite transformative in the biobanking sector, and now it has become a need of the hour. So yeah.
Yeah, so I can talk about the digitization. That was a real initial work commitment from us to figure out how to do that, but we rented that scanner. It's a scanner that basically you can open a book on and then flick the pages, and there was a foot pedal that you just press and it captures the images. The labor for that was the biggest challenge, but we worked with our healthcare system that had a number of employees who were off of regular duties for health-related reasons, in workplace injuries and things like that. So we had a lady from the Gundersen kitchen who normally would have been preparing food. We had some people from environmental services who would have been, typically, moving beds around and things like that. Mm-hmm. Those folks were very happy and engaged to be part of that. So it took us about 3 months to do 80,000 pages. We learned a lot from those people. If you ever want to learn anything, you get somebody doing a job and talk to them about how it works. And the first lady we had working on that, who was, the person who was serving food in the cafeteria, gave us chapter and verse about how we were wrong with 3 or 4 of the different things we thought would be working. And she really told us how to make that process hum. So we got about 80,000 pages digitized. And then we wrote some Python scripts to extract and search those for cancer relevant terms. So we went from having to manually screen 20,000 cases a year to getting a hit list of about 2,000 or so that our technician could fairly quickly review, and the yield of cancer cases from there was sort of on the 80 to 85% mark. So that was really, really efficient. The Biobank database is something we've had. It works with SQL, and it's been in existence since about 2009, 2010, since the inception of the Biobank. And it's just a continuous work of improvement to try to make that better. But it serves our needs reasonably well. I mean, the primary purposes for us, because we've got that CAP accreditation, is making sure that it's compliant with all of the strenuous requirements for access, validation, audits, end-to-end accuracy, and all of that. And it does a really good job of that.
That's really impressive. And I think a lot of biobanks on our platform who want to start the data management, I think they would really benefit from this kind of information. And your CAP accreditation is also very, very impressive. And I think you're the only biobank in the US in our platform who has been accredited in CAP. So I think that's great. So I think we have a few questions in the chat. So there's one question from Riyadh. He asks, I saw that you classify the FFP blocks by color.
Like we classify them by color?
Yeah, by color. Why would you classify them as color?
I don't know what you mean by color.
Yeah. Riyadh, can you unmute and maybe clarify on that question?
Is it maybe the color of the cassette? I don't know.
You mean perhaps it's just the different colors in the graph or something?
Maybe if you can put your clarification. So he says, I saw different color, blue, white.
So the cassettes, yeah, we don't, we are grateful to get whatever color cassettes our pathology department can spare us. So I guess depending on, what special deals Fisher Scientific has in any particular month, we can get them in any color, but we don't infer anything from the color or utilize the color for tracking in any way. Our specimens, date back to 1983, so we've got almost 40 years. We've got pretty much a rainbow of color in our archive, but no information is encoded in the color.
I hope that answers the question, Riyadh. So we have another question from Gauri. She wants to know more about your inventory management system that you use for your biobank, and can you share which system do you use?
Yeah, it was developed in-house by, prior to my time, by the Gundersen Health System IT department. So it sits on an SQL server. It's got maybe about 5 different tables in there that capture patient demographics, different information on the tissue, and on blood and on the serum specimens, and it's integrated with our electronic medical record system so that when we have a new patient, we open up a new biobank record, and it sucks in many of the patient relevant data that we need to annotate, things like smoking and things like that flow in pretty efficiently. We're always working on making that better, but it's a de-identified database for us at least, so we don't have direct access to the patient medical record number within that database, but it's integrated with our electronic medical record on the back end, so that we can continuously capture information over time due to, patient death is one good example. So, all of the patients are alive when they contribute to the biobank, but then they die at various rates thereafter. And that information is something that flows in. So we're working with our database folks now to build an improved version of this that's much more tightly integrated with the electronic medical record. But like I say, that's a work in progress.
Thank you so much, Dr. Paraic. And I think just being mindful of the time, I'll close this presentation and hand over to Apurva. And thank you again, Dr. Paraic. And if we have any more questions, we'll definitely email them to you. And if you can share your email in the chat as well, I think our members can reach to you directly if they have any queries or if they want to come to you for samples that they're requesting. That would be great. Yeah.
Will do. Thank you.
Thank you.